All right, so here we are on How Do Meters Work, part 6 of 10. So the voltage meter, and we've talked about the Darcel meter, and this Darcel meter is going to be what we'll say for this video is 500 ohms. That's what the resistance rating of the coil is, and full scale deflection is 1 milliamp. What does that mean? That means that if I wanted to multiply those two together, that would be the full scale deflection of what voltage would be full scale deflection, right? And so full scale deflection of this would be 0.5 volts, right? So if I wanted to change the back plate, behind that needle, right? It's just paper. You could print out a different piece of paper, right? I could change the back scale of that meter to be, let's say 0 to 1000 volts, right? And that needle is going to go from here all the way to here, right? Well, how do I get to 1000 volts? Well, I don't want to smoke this meter 0.5 volts any more than that. That'll probably smoke this meter, right? So what I need to do is build a voltage divider circuit where the other 999.5 volts is captured by this R1 resistor. Okay? And that leaves the remaining 0.5 volts for the meter. Now that's one way to view this. Another way you could view this is this is going to be 1000 volts, right? Across these two. So this is 1000 volts. And I know that this is at the bottom, we have 500 ohms at 1 milliamp, right? This is going to be the exact same 1 milliamp, right? And you could say that this is 999.5 volts. Divide these two out, right? And if you divide them out, 999.5 divided by 0.001, well, this resistance is going to be very large, right? So now this, if you haven't noticed, this R1 resistor right here is this resistance right here, and therefore it's going to be 999.5 kiloohms of resistance. So now I can turn this meter, rip out the paper back plate and change it so that way it's 999.5 kiloohms in series with this resistor. And now I can do full scale deflection for 1000 volts, right? So this is what we're looking at. Let's consider, well, we just did this one, okay? That's 1000 volts. Oh, if I could write. All right, so what's this one right here? Well, if this resistance is 9.5 kiloohms, and this one right here, the meter is 1000. I'm sorry, excuse me, the meter's 500. Well, that's going to be, let's get the calculator on screen. Probably should have done that before, but it's going to be 9500, right? That's 9.5 kiloohms plus the 500. That's 10,000 ohms total. That because they're in series, right? So this R multiplier right here is in series with the power meter here, which is 500 ohms. And the current going through them both is the same. It's 1 milliamp. So times 0.001, that would be the total voltage of what we're measuring, which is 10 volts. Okay. And then this last one, 500 ohms. Well, this is, almost intuitive, right? If you think about it, it's 500 plus the 500, right? Times the current, right? That this is 1000 ohms for the whole circuit times the current 0.001. There you go, 1 volt. This is a 1 volt measurement. Okay. So hopefully you're seeing how that works. And that's what we're doing right here. Okay. So now let's take this to a multimeter and let's build this into a meter, right? And so R1, well, we already did this one. Okay. This is one part of the circuit. you flip your little switch down here, and you go to another resistor, and you flip it again, you go to another resistor, you flip it again, and you go to another resistor, and oh, look at what we have. We have a meter that goes from 1,000 volts to 10 volts to well, excuse me, 1,000 volts to 100 volts to 10 to 1 and off. And if you move this switch to the off position, you can see that it's not connected to anything out here. Okay. So it's always best, given this principle, if you wanted to measure something that was a 480 volts, you want to start on the highest resistance first. Okay. Because if you go 480 volts to this upper resistor, you're, you know, it's rated for 1,000 volts. You're doing 480, right? So you're only looking at about half of the total current that's going to run. So 0.5 milliamps. That's what's going to run right here. Okay. But what happens if I do 480 volts on this one right here, right? This is 500 ohms in series with the other 500 ohms. That's 1,000 ohms. So 480 volts divided by the 1 kilo ohm, which is equal to 480 milliamps. You could also say almost half an amp. And oh yeah, we've just smoked this thing by giving it almost 500 times higher than it's rated for. Okay. So that would definitely smoke this thing. So when you're doing a voltage, you always start at the highest scale and go down to the lowest. Okay. And that is how the voltage meters work. And in the next one, we're going to go on to the current meter.